How to help an opioid or opiate addict. Those are the same drugs, same class of drugs, so we're talking about things like Percocet, Vicodin, oxycodone, OxyContin, codeine, fentanyl, amongst others, and morphine. These are heavy-duty drugs. These are well known now in the media, especially fentanyl, because of the potential, high potential for overdose, accidental overdose, and death. And so the first thing is to discuss the antidote, which is called naloxone or Narcan. And these are widely available for free at a lot of pharmacies. And it's an injection, whether it's used as a needle into the muscle or as an intranasal spray, which is the more recent one. This is a safe antidote, and this is used in somebody who's basically passed out and has stopped breathing, or they've lost consciousness, and this can save their life. Now, the thing to remember though with this antidote, it's short acting, and sometimes the opioids that a person has used are long acting, and so the antidote may work short term. It could wake them up and then they could fall back into unconsciousness. So first and foremost, naloxone kit, have that available, and try to ask the user never to use alone, so at least somebody is there so they can help them. That being said, to help an opioid addict, that is a very difficult thing because, as I said, these are very dangerous class of drugs. They're very highly addictive, and if the person has a little bit of dependency, meaning that if they've been using it for a while, if they try to stop it suddenly, cold turkey, they'll go into withdrawal and they'll feel uncomfortable, to say the least. Depends how much they've been using, but even using a prescription properly, suddenly stopping this can really cause discomfort. And so there's a whole bunch of symptoms associated with the withdrawal syndrome, but it's like a flu magnified by about 100-fold, and they're very sick, very uncomfortable, and there's a fear of dying that they have. I know this because I've been through it personally. So to avoid that, it's best not to quit suddenly. It's better to get on to some form of treatment or go through detox. Now, detox on its own is insufficient because there needs to be a seamless transition to rehab, because it takes time to undo the behaviors of the addiction and to learn new behaviors, so to have a better chance of enduring recovery. The risk with somebody stopping cold turkey or going through detox and without following rehab is that they aren't equipped yet how to handle life's blows and life's stresses and how to cope with this without their crutch. So the opioids, the reason why people tend to use them and why I use them is it was a crutch, and I felt good on them, and it was my way of dealing with the difficulties of reality. And so when reality comes calling to somebody who's freshly detoxed, it's a very precarious situation, and relapse is very likely. And not only is that an issue, the relapse after a person has had some abstinence from it, there's much higher risk of accidental overdose because they quickly resume their previous doses. They may think they have it under control, but they don't. And I know this again personally because I actually accidentally overdosed after I went to my first rehab and started using, and it was very obvious to others that I was falling asleep, but to me I thought I had it under control, and sure enough I had a brush with death, and I have my wife to thank for saving my life. So yes, in the short term of recovery, it's high risk game when it comes to opioids. The best way to avoid this is to wean off the opioids, whether it being the drug of choice or going on opioid replacement or opioid agonist therapy. So now we're talking about Suboxone and methadone. Methadone is the older one. It's a liquid, and people call it liquid handcuffs because they have to go to the pharmacy every day to get their drink. They might get some carries throughout the week, but they're tied to their pharmacy. Suboxone is a newer medication and it contains a long-acting opiate combined with the antidote medication. It's much safer for people to take, but the idea is this replaces their urge and the cravings for the opioids, but it doesn't give them the high. So once we get this person on a steady state, they switch them off of their drug of choice onto the safer one, which is Suboxone. Once they're at their steady state, then the dose can be slowly weaned over time, and the end result hopefully will be to have them completely weaned off the Suboxone. Again, that's easier said than done, and rehab needs to be, I think, involved in these more in-depth cases, people who are deeper into their drug use. But these are the main ways how we help somebody who's addicted to the opioids.
We've helped over 1 million Americans completely recover from substance abuse. Call now at 1-800-615-1067. Call now.